welcome to day 2 of the Centre Court MBA Festival. Wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know that our Centre Court viewers come from all over the world, and so do our schools. And that's reflected for this next session. We've really embedded the theme of the enduring value of an MBA for this festival. There's a natural focus, of course, on outcomes as the class of 23 go on to explore exciting new opportunities in their career. But if you ask the class of 2003, 2013, would you do this all again? Invariably, I think they would say yes, and then point to the myriad opportunities, experiences that the MBA has served them so well. So with that theme in mind, it's my pleasure to welcome Jennifer. Jennifer is an Associate Director of the MBA and the MIM programs at INSEAD, the business school for the world, as they like to describe themselves. Coming back to Centre Court, it's always lovely to see Abby Scott. Abby is the Assistant Dean of the MBA Career Management Group and Corporate Partnerships at Berkeley Haas. And then another guy in the beard. This one, it's Bruce Delmonico. Bruce, as many of you will know, is the Assistant Dean for Admissions at the Yale School of Management. So all three of you, thank you for being with us. Abby, perhaps starting with you. You and I have been in BizEd for more than a year or two. And so we do think about that longer term picture. What do you see of an MBA and how it continues to contribute over the long term?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Matt. I love this question. In fact, I was excited to be here today just to talk a little bit more about this, because I can imagine how sometimes there are short-term questions about the return on investment and that sort of thing. We can talk about that in a minute, but long-term, I think there are 4 things to think about, and I think the MBA has a tremendous impact on all of those things. One is, of course, the learning, what you're going to gain from the classroom, the skill sets. And you have to really think about that as lifelong. We really know that we're teaching skills that are going to be valuable in your next job, but really for the long haul. And we invite you to come back. There's lifelong learning opportunities as well once you're in the system. So that's the first thing, is learning. The second thing is the network. And this is something that's very intangible, I think, until you're in a program. Perhaps you've seen coworkers and understand the value of the term. But I have to say, when you are in an MBA program or a master's degree program and spending this intense amount of time with people, you establish this incredible community that will open doors in the future, really, to just about any organization or geography. So that's the second thing. The third thing is just maybe a little more practical, and the fourth as well. Just the career opportunities, which is what I spend a lot of time thinking about. You don't want to be in a position, 5 years, 10 years down the road where you see a job description where an MBA is required and that or preferred, right? You just want to have that asset. And then finally, the financial impact, it's real, and ROI does kick in quite quickly, actually, but longer term, we really see those benefits. So lots and lots of good reasons to consider all of our programs.
And given it's a question you like, we'll have another session, Abby, just the two of us, and take 45 minutes to explore those themes. The intensive 1 year at INSEAD, but then a lifetime of impact, Jennifer. How do you like to think about it with students that then they seem to go to weddings for the next 10 years, but in every corner of the world? Maybe that's a reflection of INSEAD, but how do you think about the long-term impact of the INSEAD MBA?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Matt, for having me. And also same here. And I'm very happy to share about this topic, because I think, as you mentioned, INSEAD is a very intensive 1 year MBA program. So I'm not denying that as a lot of candidates come to us, this question will always come up, and you definitely cannot avoid that, because they really look at the ROI. So I totally agree with what Abby mentioned just now, those 4 points. First, I think, of course, everyone will look at the financial return, right? That is probably the first thing that people will consider if you want to make a career progression after the MBA. So that is the short-term career goal, is always will contribute to your long-term career impact. So I'm not denying that. And also, when you look at the long-term impact of earning an MBA degree, I think that always starts from like Abby said, the academic, the learning, but that actually you cannot also compare the business education you get from the MBA program cannot compare with any other programs, I think, even the university, because you really have a well-rounded training, not just from the academic learning, but also to the leadership skill you can build. And that comes with the whole package of the problem-solving skills. I think the capabilities and the skill set you built during the program, and especially also the time management, because no matter 1 year program, or I'm sure, I mean, Bruce, Abby will agree that even 2 years program, you do have a very rigorous, I mean, schedule every day that to train you how to manage the time. So all these capabilities and the skills that you build definitely will help you to land a probably dream job after 1 year or 2 years. And from there, you also will find that this will keep helping you to break the ceiling of your career and give you the personal and professional growth, right? And the second point I would want to mention is not so much about the tangible results. I think it's really that what I can see every day from our alumni and students is that they really become very confident, and also they build a resilience. I think once you have this confidence in you, you will find that there's nothing is impossible. Like I think last week I talked to one of my graduates. I think, what do you think? I think this 1 year do for you. And then she told me that she really felt that she become a superwoman, because even she entered interview, the industry that she never know about, but she can quickly connect with the classmate and she know where to start. So this type of confidence, I think you may not get anywhere else, and then from other degree. And also from there, because you have the confidence, you always have the resilience. And that I see after 1 year, our students, they really have a happier life. I think the happiness in the program is something you cannot ignore, right? Everyone comes with a tangible result in your mind, but you'll be surprised that probably this transformative journey will give you a happy life, and because your attitude change. And the last point I want to mention is the community you will have, because it's not just for that 10 months or 2 years and then in the program, it's the people you connect, the global network you have. I think wherever you go in the future, you always have a community that very closer to your heart, and you don't feel alone. And then when you need to start something new, or you need to start a new career in other countries. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jen, because you've taken us on this wonderful journey that acknowledges the financial returns, but you've then also brought in confidence and happiness and friendship. You know, what a wonderful arc that's generating. Bruce, when Yale welcomes back the class of 2013 or further back, listening in on their conversations, and they're saying, you know, Bruce, you know, it feels like yesterday, but as they reflect, what are the sort of things that they share with you that the MBA has enabled them to achieve?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. As we were just talking before the session about the fact that, you know, I know Berkeley and I think INSEAD as well just saw off our most recent graduates out into the world, and also, you know, welcome back those classes of, you know, 2013, 2003 and others. And it is, you know, I think Abby and Jennifer gave wonderful answers about the impact of the MBA, both sort of the financial and sort of the leadership pieces, and I think in the camaraderie, and when students do come back, when graduates do come back, it is, you know, they share lots of stories about the one thing I would focus on is the impact they've had and been able to have, and certainly the farther out that they go. So I think the one thing that's maybe complementary to the things that Jennifer and Abby shared is that piece of it. And I think, and Matt, to your point, as a small digression, you know, when we and others survey MBA graduates, I think it's 90+% say, yes, I would do this again. This had real value. So it's not just ours talking about the ROI and the benefits of the degree, but the people actually went through it, you know, validating and reaffirming that this had real value for them, and that it was meaningful for them, and it did change their lives in the ways that Jennifer and Abby talked about. When graduates do come back, when alumni do come back, you know, they talk about the social piece, they talk about the weddings. There are a lot of people, a lot of classmates who get married or find their partners and the MBA program, and also there are lots of SOM and I'm sure INSEAD and Haas weddings that happen, and then the social piece, the network piece, that the lifelong friendships that people have made. But I think it's also, as I said, sort of the impact is really a big piece of it too. And when from my perspective, seeing these classes that I've admitted in years past coming back and seeing the things that people have done, so not just what they're saying, but what I'm seeing, the roles they've had, the ways they've moved up in organizations and broadened the kind of impact they have, that's a signal to me about the enduring value of the MBA, and not enduring in terms of the continuing relevance, but also enduring in terms of the long-term value, which Jennifer referred to in particular, and the fact that my sense is that, and my observations are that the MBA, the true value reveals itself over time, and the farther out you are, the more impact your MBA has. And there are some, obviously, I think we have, a number of us have, shorter 1 year master's degrees that are very focused, that are more technical, and those have real value too for specific sort of purposes. But the thing about the MBA is that it allows you to have that impact sort of longer term, and really it's not just those more short-term technical skills, but it's the sort of the leadership skills, the way the managing others, and having those broader impacts. Although I would say, as an aside, the technical skills, when I ask alumni who come back and who, especially those who are not in, say, finance and consulting, which are the more common tracks, but maybe doing something different, what was the most helpful class you took when you were here? And almost invariably they say accounting. Because it's not something that they had exposure to previously. It's not something that they were good at, but it helped expand their skill set, and it was important. And I think a lot of people come into the MBA. Jennifer, I started to ramble. Jennifer, your point about confidence was incredibly well taken, because I see a lot of people coming into the MBA and they're managing, they're leading, they're doing things, making decisions based on kind of instinct and gut and intuition. And part of the confidence, the thing that the MBA gives them is sort of structures and frameworks for making decisions, for understanding situations. And accounting is an example of that. It's like providing a structure for understanding spreadsheets and for understanding the financials. And there are ways in which that happens across all aspects of the MBA and all aspects of the kind of leadership you'll have after you graduate. So I apologize for going on, but it's kind of wide ranging when they come back to campus and share their experiences.
Accounting will count things. It will put measures. And as we think about, I once endeavored to put together an MBA happiness index. Abby, the media have steered us towards ROI as purely this measure of salaries 3 years out or 5 years out. Those matter too. But what are we missing in channeling ROI to just sort of dollars and euros? And these other factors that all three of you are alluding to. I mean, how do you put a price on finding your soulmate?
Yeah, it's such an important question and part of the equation. I mean, first of all, I do think for people that are interested in doing a calculation on ROI, I think you have to look at measures beyond salary. There's so many things that the publications don't count, like stock options, for example. They're very difficult to count, stock options and grants. But at our school, over 40% every year of our graduates receive some form of compensation in stock, whether it's an option or a grant. And so that, as you know, can go up or down, but that really is a tough one to put a measure on. But one way that we see for some of our most successful alums who come back and give buildings to the school, for example, their compensation is really coming in that form largely. The other thing I'd say, if you're doing the pure calculation, I guess I'm riffing off Bruce's accounting question, and then I'll go to the intangibles, or accounting comment. Usually when people are trying to do an ROI calculation heading into business school, they're looking certainly at the opportunity cost of lost income if they're going to a full-time program. They're looking at, say, what the salary might be 2-3 years out. But normally people don't shoot high enough in terms of what they are able to do and achieve. We're looking sort of at the measures on the page rather than, of which salary may be underestimated, depending on the person and their impact. But then also, to Matt's point, all these intangibles are incredibly valuable and something to that we find difficult to measure in accounting terms, but most of our graduates really speak to in terms of the reason that they've done this, the impact that they've made, the relationships that they've made over time. So I guess in closing, as you're doing these calculations, think about those that are measurable and think beyond what's on the page. But think bigger, because you probably are capable of doing bigger things than what you might see just in the stories we tell.
Right. Even in 1 year, Jennifer, the number of transitions, that they might have had the distinct idea, this will be the next steps of my career. But Lokesh has written in, talking about the point of ambition that Abby has raised. They share with you their career goals in their application, but spending a year at Haas, at Yale, or at INSEAD, surrounded by such talented, diverse, open-minded, and ambitious classmates, things could take off in any number of directions. So, how do you like to encourage applicants to think beyond that year and really dream big?
Okay, I take that question first. I think for when we talk about the ROI, I think Abby already mentioned what you should really look beyond, I think, the financial number. But I think the ROI, especially, I think if you go to many rankings table, they have done a very good job. I think all the schools here, like INSEAD, Haas, and also Yale, you already have a reassure that you have a very high ROI in terms of that, if you just do a simple calculation, right? But I think beyond that, I think you also need to look at the opportunity you get in this 1 year, exactly what you mentioned. I think is someone probably before you join, everyone has, especially for INSEAD, it's such a short program. So we always encourage that the applicants that you come with the ready, the prepare mindset that what you really want to do after the program, and you have your short-term career goal and long-term career goal. But I can tell you, I think 90% all the students will be surprised how many opportunities they get. And also is the opportunities that they never imagined before. Because when you are surrounded by a group of people coming from all different industries, different cultural backgrounds, and it opens the door to you that to see there's so many different types of life and not just careers that you can explore in the future. I think this part is definitely beyond the first job you can get, like how much you earn, how much change you can get. Like everyone talk about most amazing after MBA is that even just 1 year, you manage to get triple jump, right? You change your function, change your industry, change your location. But I think I think a lot of applicants don't see the future, the next 5 years and 10 years, how many change you can make after that. So I think definitely the opportunities that you get, and then from this network and resources will not just end at the day that you graduate. It's actually the start of your transformative journey, and you can keep gaining their value from that point.
Yeah. And I'm sure, Jennifer, from that perspective, anyone that's looking at INSEAD and these top schools, having conversations not just with current students, but someone that is 5 years or 10 years out, will be incredibly insightful and helpful to them to really understand the impact of the MBA. Yeah. Well, Bruce, for your round 1 applications coming up, if you get a whole bunch of people saying, I really wanted to go to Yale to take the accounting class, think back to June the 7th and your words. But you do, you get to see people in those early stages reaching out to you, you're applying to the program, and then you watch them on this journey for 2 years. There must be so many of these personal experiences of people that arrived as one person and left as another. Did you have any favorite examples?
Oh gosh, there's so many, and I would I want to try and weave it into your last question, which was brilliant, and Jennifer's wonderful answer, to reinforce what I think is a really important and very hidden value of the MBA, which is just expanding opportunity, not just the opportunity you know about, but the opportunity you were completely unaware of and didn't know existed. And I would, I'm going to turn it back on myself because I'm self-centered. But thinking of a much younger version of myself, I know in the States at least, and maybe elsewhere, if you're young and kind of and smart and wanted, not that applied to me, but if you're young and smart and wanted to do something meaningful, traditionally you would go to law school and get a law degree because you felt like that opened lots of doors. And that's what I did. So I was a lawyer before coming to Yale. But I really think having been in graduate management education for close to 2 decades now, it's not the law, it's not the JD, it's not the law degree that really has that kind of opportunity broadening role. It's really the MBA. You can do so much, and to Jennifer's point, you can learn so much, so many things. It's tough when you're young. You don't know what's out there. You don't know what the options are. You don't know what the possibilities are. But going to an MBA program, you can see, just to reinforce her point, you can see what other people are doing. You see what the paths they've taken. You can see what the Abby and the career development offices, what they can help you uncover and develop within yourself. And I think it's really, we have some students who've said, consulting is the new law school. It's a little bit, if you're smart and ambitious and you're not quite sure, you can cut your teeth in consulting and then go in any different direction, or go within that direction beforehand. So I think to bring it back to your question, the things that I've seen among students as they go from when we welcome them in the fall to 2 springs later, when we see them off as graduates, the stories that I really love are hearing people doing things that they just didn't know were even possibilities. I think of someone who came in. One that still sticks out is someone who came in with I think she had like a neuroscience background, and just really got into finance, and then was lucky enough to intern at the Yale investments office, and now is leading an endowment, and totally was not interested in finance at all, and just went that direction. It's not to say you always do something completely different than what you thought you were going to do. Actually, another graduate that, and I think this speaks a little bit to Lokesh's question about doing more than you thought you were able to achieve or on admission. We have a graduate who we're actually recognizing. He applied to us through the Consortium for Graduate Study Management and is going to be recognized at the orientation program this week, and he came in and he was in education and wanted to stay in education. So it's not like he was making a big pivot, but he started a charter school, and it's this very high performing charter school, and he's having great impact. And we're still in touch, and it's so exciting to see him do that, and from where he started and having these ambitions. So there are some people who end up doing what they thought they wanted to do. He wanted to stay in education, and to be able to put the pieces in place to be able to achieve those goals and then take it beyond, I think, what he thought he was going to be able to do is very, very exciting. So I'll stop there, but those are just a couple of examples.
Yeah, and you've brought up, Bruce, the idea of options. Maybe that was law school, another area of grad school, or of course those, Abby, that say, well, it's a good job market, I'll just keep my head down and move forward. Do I need to disrupt all of this to go back to business school and the investment that's involved? So, when people talk to you about the opportunity cost or the investment and tuition and everything else that's involved, how do you like to then encourage them to contextualize that and what they might be missing out on?
Can I answer a different question? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Because I feel like we've talked a lot about this, so I'm happy to say a little bit more about it. Opportunity cost is, there are 2 parts to it. There's the part that is tangible. You can just look at what your salary was, what your options might have been if you're in a sector that offers that. You know, if you stayed with the company and watched them continue to grow, if maybe you're in finance and you're on a path to go to private equity, whatever it is, there is a real cost associated with stepping out. There's also, I think, a real cost that people get tricked by, and that's stepping out of the workforce. They worry that they're going to be missing out on industry trends and, you know, that things that are happening in industry. But I think that's a real myth, because imagine being in a learning laboratory, looking, you know, like a university, an MBA setting, and looking out at what's happening in industry. It's really quite remarkable. And as I think back through the years to different disruptions in industry, you know, the financial crisis, even now, just talking about ChatGPT and AI and disruption there, it's really fun to see our community come together to discuss what's happening. And this learning lab that the students are in, I think is far more valuable than what they might be learning in their desk or their cubicle or whatever it is. There's learning there too, don't get me wrong, but just to be in this university environment for a year or 2 years is just so valuable.
Well, if we run
anyway,
with ChatGPT, Abby, which of course has actually been around for 3.5 years, but it's the last 6 months of hysteria. So at Haas, are you saying there will be constant change? There will be technological advances, and it's how you get your mind around it that is going to serve you well in the years ahead. What would be sort of the teaching or the learning example from GPT?
Yes, well, so I think, you know, it's happening in the classroom is my point. So it may be happening in an experiential way in industry, which is valuable. What's happening in the classroom is both experiential and the ability to step back and look at it and talk about it and debate it. And, you know, the richness of that discussion in the classroom, I think, is just far greater. You know, one additional example is we, you know, often will have an ad hoc panel discussion among faculty experts, you know, usually from within the business school, but often we'll pull in people from across the greater Berkeley campus when there's a hot topic. In fact, just on a personal note, I often have friends trying to get me to sign up to go to this local wonderful speaker series that we have in our community at night. And I say every year, I don't need that. I have that on campus. I go every day to something if I could, if I had the time, where we're debating these live issues. You know, it's just such an incredible place to be on a university campus discussing hot topics like this.
Yeah, I'm sure, Jennifer, when you walk through the corridors of the Singapore or the Fontainebleau campus, the conversations that you hear and you know, bringing business into the classroom and discussions. So how is the MBA preparing students to meet those future needs? Because again, as we said with Abby, advances, things will continue to evolve. So how are you providing them with a framework that will then give them a place to start in the next steps of their career?
Sure. I think for all the top MBA programs, they already give you a very good foundation of the general management, the knowledge, right? So no matter which industry you come from and you will go, and then that it will already give you a solid understanding across a different industry. And from there, I think if you ask me now, I will not know 10 years later or 20 years later what type of skill set you need for your role that time. So I think for business school, it's really important that it is not just about coping the change nowadays, but also leading the change, help the students. So I think that is why I think the framework, the structure, and most important is the way of thinking is very important. So for example, I think when INSEAD starts, we start the business as a force for good, like so many years back. That time, the scale of impact investing is minimum. I think no one will think about if you need to be profitable, and then why you keep mentioning impact investing. But now you look at the figure, the scale of impact investing today, it already has topped up to $1 trillion last year. So I think the business school at this position is really very well positioned to develop the leaders for the future, not just how to deliver the prosperity to the society, but also really to help them to integrate all the positive impact in every business decision they make. So I think the business school like INSEAD, Yale, and Haas are definitely very capable to doing that. Not just prepare the student have the skill set, but also bring the awareness, how much positive impact they can bring to the society in the future.
Right, and INSEAD has a center, for business as a force for good. If we go back to the creation of the School of Management in the mid-1970s, Bruce, you've always had this very strong piece of the school around social impact. Do you think that that's sort of, it's always been important? Do you feel that it resonates even more today, this sense of purpose and positive impact?
I do. I think that's right. Yeah. So when about 5 decades ago or so, I think when the School of Management here at Yale was founded with the mission of educating leaders for business and society, it definitely had that multi-sector, that's sort of the societal impact piece was kind of baked into it. And I feel like that's only grown when you see the research about sort of Gen Z, for example, and how much they care about having that kind of impact. And so social impact, sustainability, how very relevant those issues are. And I think I think all schools are either responding or have already responded or gotten ahead of that. Hopefully it's not a trend. Hopefully it's just a kind of an evolution that will remain. But the idea of like looking beyond yourself, which I know Berkeley I think has as one of their guiding principles. But and really thinking about not just the kind of the benefits you can accrue to yourself, but the positive impact you can have on your organization, your community, and society more generally. I think that's become more and more relevant. I think schools, whether it's something like at Yale, where that was our founding mission, or schools who've developed these centers or initiatives more recently, I think that's something that you can get at an MBA program. And I think that's really sort of critical. I think it ties in a little bit. I might be a little bit ham-handed. I'm going to try and tie it into your previous question and Jennifer's wonderful answer about not just kind of the hardwired things. It's not just, again, getting back to accounting. It's not just learning sort of GAAP accounting principles, which is it can be an important thing, but it's learning. It's almost learning how to learn, and it's learning how to think, and it's creating structures and frameworks. So, for example, in competitive strategy, at Yale, and I'm sure at the other schools, you will learn about how to make decisions in uncertainty with constrained information. That's not the hardwired thing. That's thinking about how to think and how to adapt principles to future situations that allow you to kind of continue to grow and develop. And I think we all have skills that are really more about how to think, frameworks for thinking. So decision-making under constraints, decision-making under uncertainty, other analogous things that really are relevant, regardless of what situation you're in. And the other point I would make about that, this gets both to the social impact, but also to kind of the broader kind of soft learning pieces. We all, we're sitting within, not all, but we many of us are sitting within sort of larger universities that have the resources of those universities available to students. So when Abby was talking about the learning lab piece, you can draw from other arms of different universities, or certainly in sort of INSEAD's or global connections from within INSEAD or at other at sort of other global network opportunities that will allow you to kind of amplify your learning and not just rely on what you're learning at this business school, but what you can learn through other disciplines, which are themselves evolving with ChatGPT. You could if you don't see if you're interested in ChatGPT and how generative AI is changing the world, you don't have to think about, okay, what's happening at the business school, what's happening in computer science, what are they doing over there, and what can I learn there? So I think that allows you to stay current with what's happening in the world as well.
Yeah, and I encourage viewers to look at the Global Business School Network, where INSEAD and Yale and other schools connect, and that relationship, whether it's Haas with UC Berkeley and all of that sort of cross-pollination. One of the aspects, Abby, that I've loved about Center Court in recent years is bringing in the voices from career management group and career services at other schools. I see you as the magic dust of the MBA program. I may have to reconsider with the power of the accounting courses that you all offer. But nevertheless, as you work with candidates in the MBA, here are skills that you have. Perhaps this is what you can do, but you're also exploring with them, what do you want to do? So how do you work with students at Haas to sort of find that balance and see where it leads them?
Yeah, it's a journey. We, as I think Jennifer spoke to with respect to your application, you really need to come into a program with a strong hypothesis. And the reason that we insist upon that is there aren't enough hours in the day to pursue everything, to explore everything. There just aren't. That's the wonderful thing, is that there's so many opportunities, panels, classes, experiential learning, projects, those kinds of things that you have to begin to narrow down to, a few things at the very most, just to start moving forward. So we work with students to help them explore their hypothesis, as we call it. One thing that I notice, and we spoke about this, all of us really earlier, is often students don't think big enough. I'll give you one example. We have a student that's just graduated, actually, and she was one of our second year peer advisors. So she spent a lot of time in our office helping to support first years on their learning journey. And she came in with a really clear goal of wanting to work in sustainability. And she found a summer internship working in a sustainability group of a company, a local company. And she came back after this summer and she said, I realized that role wasn't big enough for me. And by the way, we had, tried to encourage her to think bigger along the way, but I think she needed to sit in the job for the summer to get there herself. She realized that what she was doing was really just metrics and writing reports. And so she came back and approached her second year under the guidance of one of our wonderful career coaches, thinking about consulting, interestingly, as a career, because she realized she'd be able to have impact at a higher level, working with CEOs, bringing all the skills that she has learned, not just about sustainability, but about leadership, about DEI, about all of these wonderful things that she felt she had the confidence and a sort of a skill set that would allow her to have that impact at a higher level. So all that to say, students come in with a hypothesis, we allow them to explore, but we do try to get them on a path pretty quickly just to be able to eliminate opportunities and carve out time in their schedule. The summer internship is critical. And then that second year is really about refining your focus. And usually for us, that means, thinking a little bit bigger about where you want to go longer term.
Well, if we think big, we have a planet to take care of, to save, arguably. We have communities to cherish. And Jen, I'm just thinking of the recent decision on what Abby was saying of INSEAD to embed sustainability into all 14 core courses on the curriculum. It's a big decision. How does that fit into the idea of getting people to think about these bigger societal challenges and how that might then thread into the impact that they're going to have with the next steps after the MBA?
Yeah, I think we started this sustainability curriculum. I think it's not something new. So it's actually in the past many years that there are courses and then focus on sustainability and also the subject around that. I think just this year, the last few months, and then we review the whole curriculum and we make the big change that we make sure every core courses, there always a one module or two, and then focus on the sustainability in accounting, in operations, and also in strategy level. And also we make sure at the end of the MBA journey that there's a compulsory sustainability capstone. So that means the students that they learn all these subjects with the sustainability in mind, they are able to apply this to really solve a problem that the company has, and with the sustainability practice in mind. That means every business decision they make, they should take into account the bring the positive impact in terms of the sustainability. So I think this is a way that even for students, probably when they come to business school without this mind, and then but they are kind of force them and then to practice this and bring the awareness to them. So we are not teaching them what is right or what is wrong to do, but at least, I mean, they know that they need to be aware that every decision you make in the individual level, how this impact the future society, and in the manager level, what type of impact it bring. And then on the top level, in the corporate level, so all this and how this will probably impact the society and business.
So if we bring things together and three perhaps unusual themes as we think of the enduring value of the MBA, and I invite you to choose one or all three of them in your answers: happiness, fulfillment, and friendship. Themes that each of you have brought up in different ways, whether we talk about a network of friends, but of support through the program and in the years that follow, people coming back and saying, I feel more fulfilled, or I'm happier. Bruce, you can ambitiously choose all of them or just focus on one of them. What are you going to go for?
I'm disappointed that accounting was not an option among those. So.
We did that one.
I think you could check all those off. I think those are all relevant and that we've touched on all. I mean, I would roll that all up into fulfillment. I think that's the one. I would think in whatever way you define success and fulfilling yourself on a personal, professional level, I think the MBA can help you towards that goal and can really sort of be transformative and moving you along that path. So I think fulfillment is the thing that maybe is most representative of, I think, what the long-term value of the degree is.
Great. Abby, which one are you going to choose?
I try to roll the three into a theme that I will call human connection, because I think that is it's one way to think about networking, which we have a lot of introverts in our program. We have a lot of people that come from cultures where networking is not a comfortable space for them to sit. But I have to tell you, just extending yourself, putting yourself out there, thinking about making connections, human connections, authentic connections with people is the secret sauce here. It's the way to find meaning. It's the way to, I think research has shown people that are connected and making meaningful human connections are happier. And I do really think that, think about this. My wonderful admissions colleagues are curating this class of individuals that are incredibly rich in terms of their capabilities and what they bring, the dimension that they bring to the program. And so just taking advantage of just getting to know the students that are there, the students that have come before you, making that connection. I think that's what it's all about.
And perhaps we're within 24 hours, Apple has launched their, what are they calling it? The Vision Pro. And I wonder the extent to which it's technically impressive. But again, we're retreating into our own little worlds. I'm not sure that Haas and INSEAD and Yale students are spending all day on their phones when there is so much human connection to take advantage of. Jen, across happiness, fulfillment, networks, and friendship, what are you going to put forward?
Yeah, this is very personal. I'm a very happy person. So for me, I'm not greedy. I only pick happiness, because I think once you feel happy, that means everything you're fulfilled, right? From professional side, from personal side. And for the end goal of your life, I think for many people, it is not the number in your bank or just like some real asset you have. It's really the feeling that you have. And that will also bring to your friends and family. And also, I think that is quite aligned with all our alumni and then how's their feeling as well. Because every time, and when the first time I joined INSEAD, I remember everyone's telling me, be graduating that time. So this is the best year of my life. So I can feel that they're very happy. But after like the 5 years, 20 years, even 30 years reunion, the alumni will, so I ask them why this is the best year of your life. And then they always correct me. This is not the best year of your life. This is the start of your best years of your life. That means I think along the way, they must also find the same happiness. And then no matter, I think it's the economy downturn or good. And then I think this is something that they always have in mind.
Right. I think we should divide tuition fees by 35 years and then you look at the return on that one. I often talk about your three schools, about INSEAD, about Yale and Berkeley Haas, as being remarkably collaborative, supportive institutions. But look at this panel. You know, the three schools, I offered you three choices. Each of you took one. Beautifully collaborative among each other. I think that speaks volumes. It says everything about you. Thank you for taking the time to focus on this. It feels that in the current market, you know, why business school? You know, what's the return for me? And the way that you've addressed it from so many different perspectives. I know that you all encourage our viewers to reach out, to talk to you and your teams, to talk to students and alumni. There are lots of touch points that you provide, but to have shared this touch point at Centre Court was a great place to start. So Abby, Bruce, Jen, it was lovely to have you on the session. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Everyone.